Tēnā tātou, welcome. Hastings District Council is preparing the very first 10-year reserve management plan for Eskdale Park. It will be the Council's 6th major park to have its own plan. Council's Open Spaces team will create the plan with the community, with specialist input from a range of experts. The plan will provide a framework that helps us to conserve and enhance the natural attributes of the park, while also taking into account the way our community use it now and into the future. Earlier this year, Council commissioned Vocal to facilitate in-depth discussions with the community, asking people how they enjoy the park, what the issues are, and how it should be used moving forward. Council also commissioned a range of expert reports on the park, from an archaeologist, a tree specialist and an historian. Council is also working with mana whenua, who are capturing the cultural narrative of the reserve. Today, we give you the highlights of the reports completed so far, and followed by a presentation from Focal, who will present their community engagement findings. These reports will be available on Council's website as they are completed. Following some time sharing information, the next step will be to convene a series of community workshops to develop key concepts and themes for the reserve. So take time to digest this information and be prepared to bring your ideas to life in these workshops. But firstly, how did Eskdale Park come to be? Well, the Eskdale landowner Thomas Clark gifted 12 acres of land which was formerly known as Eskdale Domain in 1921. 5 acres were added by the Crown in 1922, and another 4 acres that belonged to Thomas Clark was added in 1956. The shifting of the bordering Esk River led to an accretion gain of 9 acres in 1972. In the same year, further river accretion led to another small piece of land being added to the park by the Yule family. Eskdale Park today measures 12.5 hectares. The historical report shows that over the decades, playgrounds, toilets, and barbecues were added, with the park being a real hive of activity, from cricket to dog walking, and equestrian events to company and school picnics. At one time, there were so many picnics they had to be booked, and spaces marked out to ensure they could all fit. The park is known for its large, shade-giving trees, which have been assessed in an arboricultural report by the Paper Street Tree Company. That report notes that the mature poplars are about 70 years old. It is recommended that a plan be prepared that will guide the replacement of these trees over the next 2 to 10 years. The report does note the successful planting of native species among the mature trees and at the margins of the park. Council also commissioned an archaeological report from Archaeology Hawke's Bay. Unlike some of our other parks, the assessment found no obvious or recorded archaeological sites within Eskdale Park, neither pre- nor post-European settlement. As with all of the parks undergoing a reserve management plan, Council is working closely with mana whenua, and information from the cultural narrative will feed into the park planning process. So, now we will hear a presentation from the Focal team, which has collated all community consultation and feedback. Focal have had many conversations with park users, neighbours, and special interest groups, and Council thanks all of those people who have put time and effort into being a part of this process.
Hi, thanks for coming along today. This is Pip and I'm Will, and we're from Focal, independent research company. We've been briefed by Hastings District Council to gain an understanding of what you, the community, want for these parks, how you use these parks and what you value.
In this video, we will share what we found through the research to help inform the reserve management plan process.
In this session here, we will talk through the project's purpose and the objectives of this engagement and information gathering stage. We wanted to understand how people use the park, how often, and who these people are. We want to understand people's level of satisfaction with the park and its amenities. We also wanted to look at the barriers to using the park user perceptions and values, the issues and concerns with the way the park is currently being used, and the opportunities to meet the needs of the diverse user groups. We used a mixed methods approach. This involved a range of both qualitative and quantitative modes of analysis. This allowed us to ensure people had multiple ways to have their say. The research included over 250 engagements through interviews and events, 32 public submissions, 340 data points for manual and digital observation, and 970 survey responses. Research findings. Here we will understand who uses Eskdale Park. Survey respondents represented a range of age groups. 60% of respondents identified as male and close to 40% identified as female. Almost 70% of park users lived in Napier and close to a quarter lived in Hastings. Responses from outside of Hawke's Bay were mainly driven by people who had previously lived near Eskdale Park. Park users were spread out across Hawke's Bay suburbs, with the highest number living in Taradale, Eskdale and Whirinaki, Bayview and Havelock North. Responses from New Zealand Europeans index higher compared to the demographic of the region, but were in line with the demographics of Napier, Puketapu, Eskdale and Bayview. The survey responses were lower than average for Māori across all areas. The Cultural Aspirations Report will be an important factor to understand the views and values of tangata whenua. This report was underway during this research. How do people use Eskdale Park? The most common reasons for visiting Eskdale Park was to visit Esk River, experience natural open space and to picnic. Walking and cycling were also popular. 90% of people drive to Eskdale Park. Very few people cycle or walk because of its location and lack of safe infrastructure. People commented that connecting the pathway network from Bayview or Eskdale School benefit the park. Almost 20% of people were using the park weekly or more, with close to half using it occasionally. Key barriers to use were people's busy schedules and travel distances. A lack of things to do and poor facilities were also mentioned. Focal Vision Video Analytics. This provides a sample of use of the park. It counts pedestrians, vehicles and cyclists. The sample indicates on the weekday there were 24 visits. On the weekend day there was an increase of 68 visits. And on Anzac Day, the public holiday, there were 77. Interestingly, only 21% of vehicles exiting Eskdale Park used the correct left lane of the road. Vehicle usage was consistent throughout the day, with walkers most likely to visit early morning and late afternoon. Here is a sample from the Strava application. No cycle trips or activities recorded on Shore Road leading to Eskdale Park. The area surrounding Eskdale Park is used by road cyclists and mountain bikers in the Pan-Pac Mountain Bike Park. This sample indicates the majority of users were male, aged between 35 to 54.
How do people feel about Eskdale Park? One of the most highly valued features of the park was the Esk River, which was viewed as safe, picturesque and peaceful. Park users frequently described the trees as being among their favourite features, particularly for their beauty, established nature, size and shade. Park users also enjoyed the open space and the size of the park. Eskdale Park is considered an important place for families to visit together for activities like picnics and cricket on special occasions. Many park users had traditions of visiting that spanned generations. Park users saw the history of the park as playing a significant role in how they felt it should be used and valued, namely as a community space that is able to be accessed by all. Park users valued Eskdale Park for its peacefulness and tranquility, allowing them to have a relaxing break from the bustles of urban environments. These are some of the positive quotes that people had to say about Eskdale Park. Large, well maintained, lots of space to spread out and not feel like you're interrupting other families. It's untouched pretty much. I love the huge trees. It's about making your own fun and enjoying the surroundings. Every Christmas for the last 30 years with family. So much space for fun, sports games, swimming and barbecues. My children's school sports days is held at their park. A prominent theme for people's negative experiences was the behaviour of other users, which was perceived to be a problem in a variety of ways. This included large groups taking up a lot of the park space, driver behaviour, or encountering people thought to be drinking and using drugs. These activities, alongside litterbugs, leaving rubbish and dog poo were seen to be disrespectful to the park. There were concerns around safety, which stemmed from perceived issues around driver behaviour, feeling intimidated by other park users, or feeling isolated and vulnerable when the park was quiet. A small number of park users mentioned feeling threatened by uncontrolled dogs and a lack of security within the park. Some users were anxious about the prominent narrative that the park may be developed into a mountain bike hub, therefore becoming crowded and restricting accessibility and activities. On the other hand, others felt there was a criticism unnecessarily directed towards participant groups, for example, negative preconceived traits of those who mountain bike. A range of people stated that they did not enjoy the conflict itself and the tension it created between different park users. Some of the negative quotes from park users are: freedom campers leaving rubbish, people not picking up their dog poo. There's usually hardly anyone there, so it doesn't always feel safe. Toilet blocks are tired. The majority of park users had a level of satisfaction with wayfinding and signage. However, people would often go to Eskdale Campground having made a wrong turn too early, or end up at the Hikuleri Girls' College looking for the park. Park users cited the need to provide clear signage for the on and off lead dog areas. People spoke passionately about their desire to see history and information boards added to the park. Just under half the users had a level of satisfaction with the playground. General upgrades to the playgrounds were desired, for example a basket swing for teenagers or more natural play features like logs, tunnels and rural play activities. Just over 40% of people had a level of satisfaction with the toilets and just over a third had a level of dissatisfaction. Improvements to lighting and brightening the toilet facilities would be well received. Overall, 70% of participants had a level of satisfaction with car parking. Many liked that they could park by the river or trees, but safety was an issue for some people who would prefer a designated car park area. 3/4 of participants felt a level of safety in Eskdale Park. However, some users felt intimidated by other people's behaviour, driving and feeling isolated when the park was quiet. Just over half of users had a level of satisfaction with the rubbish bins, with some suggestions of more rubbish bins and more frequent servicing during holidays and in other busy times. There was a high level of satisfaction with the trees in Eskdale Park. Making sure these were safe and well maintained was seen as important. Overall, participants were satisfied with ground maintenance. Just under half of people were satisfied with the seating and a quarter were dissatisfied. Suggestions to improve seating included more seating and longer bench seats for bigger groups. Here are some of the quotes from those who commented on the park and its amenities. Beautiful old trees. Toilets make it look dodgier than it actually is. More seating would be great. Off-lead but more dog signage out in the right places, not where all the other signages are at the front. Potential future considerations for Eskdale Park. It's important to note that this section covers people's appetite for potential change, rather than an indication to whether these activities will go ahead or not. The intent is to give people a steer on what could be explored further as options for Eskdale Park. There was a high level of appetite to consider increasing the planting and natural areas of the park, with over 50% being very comfortable to consider this option. Planting days were cited as playing an important role in connecting the Eskdale community. Likewise, participants were comfortable with considering community barbecues, provided they do not become a fire hazard. Self-contained overnight camping was not considered an option that participants were comfortable to pursue, with 30% stating they would be very uncomfortable. Some felt that more overnight presence could increase the security of the park. However, others felt that this would create greater potential for vandalism and littering. Permits for commercial activities had a mixed response. Of those that showed a level of comfort at 49%, they commented that it would depend on what the commercial activity was, suggesting a coffee cart could be a reason for people to come to Eskdale Park. 41% who showed a level of discomfort, 24 of which were very uncomfortable, cited that Eskdale is a rural park and people go there for its peacefulness and uncommercialised feel. More participants were comfortable with a sealed car park than not, with 59% showing some level of comfort that a dedicated car park would make the park safer. 33% of participants had a level of discomfort, stating they did not want an urbanised look impacting on the landscape or creating barriers to experiencing the park. Often people mentioned they wanted to enjoy it like they had in the past, for example parking up under the trees or river for a picnic. A perimeter pathway was a consideration that participants were comfortable to consider at 69% of respondents. Those who showed a level of discomfort cited that a pathway would impact the sense of freedom that users valued around deciding where they wanted to go. 59% of participants were comfortable to consider adult exercise equipment or a circuit training course at Eskdale Park. There was an even split between those who felt comfortable and uncomfortable to consider sport court facilities. Those with a degree of discomfort stated Eskdale Park was the wrong place and that there were other areas in the Hawke's Bay where courts were available. 64% of participants indicated a level of comfort to consider a kids' mini pump track. Those who were not felt it would take away from the park's tranquility and that such facilities existed elsewhere in the Hawke's Bay. 64% of participants indicated a level of comfort to consider access to a bike park on private land via a bridge, of which 55% were very comfortable. 33% of participants indicated a level of discomfort to consider access to the bike park, with 29% either uncomfortable or very uncomfortable to consider this option. A higher level of comfort was associated with considering this option in the neighbouring leased block, provided it did not take away from the existing atmosphere and amenities of the current Eskdale Park space. Those who showed a level of discomfort to a bike park access felt it would take away from the essence of why the park was donated, to enjoy the quiet, natural place. This was exacerbated by conflicting accounts of what the extent of this access would entail. Other options were suggested for Eskdale Park, with the most prevalent ideas being shelter structures, additional play activities, security cameras, ways to recognise the park's history, such as information boards, and drinking fountains and changing rooms for park users. Here are some quotes from those who commented on the future potential considerations for Eskdale Park. Wrong place for courts. The park's appeal is its tranquility. It is not a place for commercial activities. Great to see native plantings, hope to see more. Be great to see some more shelters, barbecues, rubbish bins and perhaps some extra playground areas. Eskdale Park opportunities. The research found that there are a number of interest groups who are passionate about Eskdale Park and have an appetite to engage. Therefore, a strategy to work together with all interested parties needs to be established to ensure Eskdale Park is managed in a collaborative way. This must include ways to achieve consistent, transparent and accountable decision making with all park users. The second opportunity is to consider options to extend Eskdale Park's leased land. Discussion has been opened up by park users to imagine what other similar settings and activities, as well as new ideas, could be provided through the offerings of the additional land. A majority of participants indicated that they were somewhat comfortable to explore the opportunity for this area as a mountain bike access point, with care and consideration taken to retain the park's unique setting. As such, all options warrant further exploration to understand the nature of this future area. The final opportunity is to take steps to improve and preserve amenities on the existing developed land of Eskdale Park. The context and history of the park, being 100 years old, was highlighted throughout the research, and drawing on the positive and negative experiences expressed in this report, many people valued the place for how it feels now and do not wish for this to change. Therefore, this report provides direction to improve or maintain the existing amenities and facilities of the park. The recent discussion around the suggested access point to the Hawke's Bay Mountain Bike Park via Eskdale Park has highlighted council mistrust and information gaps. Eskdale Park needs a collaborative approach built on communication and trust to work with the community on the future of the park. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this report. We appreciate the opportunities to have met and listened to a range of people who shared their stories.
Thank you, Focal Team. Now, we are ready for the next steps. The community workshops will help formulate the first draft of the reserve management plan for the park. The details of the workshops will be advertised widely closer to the time. However, before then, you can register your interest in advance by emailing eskdalepark@hdc.gov.nz.